Imagine a small animal pinned under the claws of a predator. Running is impossible. Fighting is suicide. So its body does something bizarre. It goes completely limp. It plays dead. But this is not a conscious trick. It is an extreme biological override. The brain forces the heart rate to drop. It paralyzes the muscles. It literally shuts off the sensation of pain so the animal can survive being eaten alive. And sometimes that sudden limpness tricks the predator into loosening its grip, creating a split second to escape. Now blink. The wild forest vanishes. You sit in a perfectly safe room. There are no predators here, but your deadline is only hours away. You stare at the glowing screen. Instantly, your nervous system boots up that exact same survival software. Your hands freeze over the keyboard. Your brain goes numb. You're exhausted, but you cannot force yourself to type a single word. Why do I have every tool to succeed? I know exactly what happens if I fail, yet I lie here scrolling, like a useless failure waiting for the executioner. Here is the terrifying paradox. You are not lazy. You are using an ancient survival mechanism to actively destroy your own future. Your biology does not know the difference between a lethal predator and a ticking deadline. It only registers an inescapable threat. It triggers tonic immobility. So how do you convince your nervous system to unlock a trap that doesn't even exist? You stop looking at your mind, and you start looking at the blood of a captured beast. Wildlife researcher Dr. Mark Cattett published a deeply unsettling finding. He measured cortisol, the primary stress hormone, in trapped animals. The results defied logic. Animals securely caught in steel leg traps had vastly higher cortisol levels than animals that had been physically shot by hunters. A bullet destroys tissue. A trap merely holds a leg. Yet the trap creates a mathematically higher biological terror. Because a bullet is an instant physical event, a trap is an inescapable psychological nightmare. When a threat appears, your amygdala, the brain's threat detection center, sounds the alarm. It activates the sympathetic nervous system. This is your classic fight or flight response. Your heart accelerates. Adrenaline floods your limbs. You are injected with kinetic energy to either kill the threat or outrun it. But here is where the biology takes a very dark turn. What happens when the jaws are locked? What happens when all that kinetic adrenaline is entirely useless? This is where Dr. Stephen W. Porges's groundbreaking polyvagal theory comes in. The brain realizes escape is mathematically impossible, so it flips a primitive covert switch, the dorsal vagal shutdown. This is your central nervous system's ultimate failsafe. A thick cable of nerves running from your brainstem to your gut violently pulls the emergency brake. It forces your heart rate to plummet. It drains the blood from your extremities, leaving your arms and legs feeling like lead. It literally unplugs your prefrontal cortex, the logical thinking part of your brain. To the outside world, this looks like complete surrender. Under the microscope, it is the most aggressive defense mechanism your body possesses. The brain does not paralyze you out of weakness. It paralyzes you out of profound mercy. In the wild, if you cannot escape the jaws of a predator, the next sequential event is being eaten alive. The dorsal vagal shutdown is a biological anesthesia protocol. It numbs the physical body and dissociates the mind so you do not have to consciously experience the unimaginable agony of your own death. Your chronic procrastination is not a failure of character. It is a highly successful, flawlessly executed pain management system. Nature designed this pain management system for a physical conclusion. In the wild, the predator bites. The event ends, you either die or you escape. Yet today, the physical bite never arrives. You are executing prehistoric survival algorithms inside a modern architecture that tortures you psychologically but never actually lets you bleed. The modern world engineered an entirely new kind of threat, the abstract predator. An unread email from an angry manager, a looming credit card bill, the silent, crushing weight of peer pressure on a glass screen. These predators do not have fangs.
They do not hunt you in the physical forest, they hunt you through notifications. When you look at that late project, your amygdala screams. It floods your bloodstream with adrenaline. It primes your muscles to fight or sprint. But you cannot physically punch your laptop screen. You cannot run into the woods to escape a bank loan. You are forced to sit perfectly still at a desk. So what happens to a biological machine when it generates explosive survival energy but is strictly forbidden to move? Your nervous system calculates a fatal error. It registers the massive stress spike. It detects zero physical release. It reaches a terrifyingly logical conclusion. You are already caught. Escape is impossible. Instantly, the dorsal vagal nerve drops the hammer. It shuts down your prefrontal cortex, the exact region of the brain responsible for logic, discipline, and willpower. You collapse onto the bed. You open a social media app. You scroll for 3 hours. You are physically safe in your room, but biologically, your nervous system is playing dead to survive the psychological agony. You carry the DNA of a wild survival machine, but you have locked yourself inside the invisible trap of a deadline. It is a torturous place to exist. The steel jaws never actually snap shut, but they also never ever open. The threat is perpetual, therefore the paralysis is perpetual. And the cruelest part? This is not a theory. It has been measured. In the late 1990s, a psychologist at Carleton University began measuring something no one had thought to measure before. Not grades, not study hours. Cortisol, the stress hormone flooding the bloodstream of students who couldn't start their work. Dr. Timothy Pickle and his colleague, G. Dunn, collected saliva samples of procrastinating students. What they found was not a motivational problem. It was not a willpower problem. The biological signature was indistinguishable from an organism caught in a trap. The students who fell furthest behind were not the ones who cared the least, they were the ones whose cortisol never came down. Permanently braced for a predator that never arrived. Permanently frozen. Permanently failing. No one had ever told you the trap was physical, and no one is telling you either. Instead, they tell you something far more damaging. Here is the most dangerous lie society tells you about this state. They tell you the cure is more discipline. They tell you to use a time management app or read a motivational quote. You cannot use logic to negotiate with a physiological freeze. You cannot outthink a dorsal vagal shutdown. The trap is strictly physical, which means the escape must also be physical. Watch an animal that just survived an attack. It does not immediately go back to sleep. It stands up and violently shakes its entire body. This neurogenic tremor physically burns off the cortisol. It sends a clear mechanical signal to the brain that the hunt is over. Modern humans do not shake. We chug another espresso and force our paralyzed brains to keep staring at the screen. We trap the chemical panic inside our tissue. To break the physiological freeze, you must manually hack your safety signals. Protocol 1. The panoramic reset. Step away from your laptop. Look out a window and focus on a distant tree or the furthest horizon. Engage your peripheral vision. When you stare at a screen, your eyes lock into tunnel vision. This physically contracts the ciliary muscles inside your eyes. To your nervous system, contracted eye muscles mean you're locked onto a threat. By looking at a distant tree, you force those tiny muscles to relax. This mechanical release instantly mathematically proves to your amygdala that the environment is clear. The threat detection system powers down. But shutting off the visual alarm is only the first step. You still have to deactivate the freeze command. Protocol 2. The vagal brake release. Dr. Andrew Huberman highlights a highly specific respiratory mechanism to override panic. Take 2 rapid inhales through your nose to fully expand your chest. Follow it with 1 long, slow exhale through your mouth. Repeat this 3 times. This is not meditation. This is a mechanical lever. That extended exhale creates physical pressure on your diaphragm. The pressure directly massages the vagus nerve. It violently interrupts the dorsal vagal shutdown and boots up your parasympathetic nervous system. It forces your heart rate to drop. Your brain now knows you are safe, but your muscles are still locked in the ice. So how do you restart a paralyzed physical engine? Protocol 3. the somatic discharge. You must complete the biological stress cycle. Stand up, vigorously shake your hands, your arms, and your legs for 30 seconds. Mimic the exact tremor of the animal surviving the trap. Evolutionary biologist Dr. Robert Sapolsky notes that humans generate massive survival energy but never physically burn it off. Shaking actively discharges the trapped adrenaline from your muscle tissue. It is the final physical keystroke. It tells your biology the steel jaws are open, the paralysis breaks, you are back online. 300,000 years ago, your ancestor crouched in the dark, heart stopped, body limp. Every predator in the forest believed they were already dead. They were not dead, they were waiting. You are not broken. You are not lazy. You are not losing. You are a survival machine that has been waiting for someone to tell you the jaws are open, the hunt is over. You are allowed to move now. So, the jaws are open. What are you waiting for?